Thanks for clicking on the play. I'm Dave Morris. We'll take a look at some of the stories you can find in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman and on our website, newsok.com. Today's episode includes what the state Supreme Court had to say about the OSSAA and why the opening of the Bricktown Landing was postponed. But first, the latest on the government shutdown. Our reporter Chris Castile in Washington has an update. Here to tell us more about it, Nick Tragakis from the Oklahoman's newsroom. And Nick, what is Chris reporting?
Today we're seeing a lot of what we saw yesterday. Lines being drawn in the sand, people digging their heels in, and not a lot of movement on this idea that maybe the shutdown would come to an end. It doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But there was sort of an interesting sidebar that Chris is following today. On the weekend, President Obama signed an appropriations bill that would pay the military to stay in place and keep their jobs going. That bill, some say, has language in it that also says civilians who support the military should also continue to be paid and keep their jobs. We found out today that Tinker Air Force Base actually furloughed some civilian employees. That irked James Langford, our congressman from the Oklahoma City area, and Chris was talking to him. Langford believes that Tinker should not have to furlough any employees. So it looks like there's a little bit of misunderstanding there, maybe some lack of communication, and Chris is going to kind of dig into that and figure out when those Tinker workers might get back to work.
It's a story Chris Castile is working on. It's not often you see Nolan Clay covering something that involves high school sports, but yeah, he did today.
He's our watchdog investigative
That's
guy.
Right.
And
he's a guy you don't want knocking on your door, basically.
No, definitely not. Well, he was following up with what the Supreme Court was saying today in relation to the Athletics Association for our high schools here in the state. The Supreme Court issued an opinion today on a 2012 case of a player named Braden Scott. He was a quarterback for Sequoia Public Schools. And in 2012, the OSSAA ruled him ineligible because of some camps he attended. They banned his team from taking part in the playoffs. Well, he sought relief with the courts so that he could get his team back in the playoffs. And that's how this case came on the radar of the Supreme Court. They issued an opinion today that Nolan describes as just a slam to the OSSAA. If I can read the quote here, it says, "This court has permitted the OSSAA in the guise of a voluntary association to govern the affairs of secondary school athletics in Oklahoma with near impunity. No more," it says.
Pretty harsh wording.
It is. They said that in this case of Braden Scott, the association was arbitrary and capricious with their handling of the case. And so what they're saying now is that we're going to be watching you, essentially, and we're not going to be very lenient when we feel like you are not being fair and acting maybe kind of reckless with the lives of these high school athletes.
Interesting stuff. It's a story our Nolan Clay is working on. A lot of people were looking forward to and a dedication today of the Bricktown Landing that was supposed to happen today on Tuesday, but it was delayed.
Yeah, the Bricktown Landing was going to be a pretty neat new addition to the Oklahoma City downtown area. It was going to be just a small stretch of land that was going to connect the Bricktown Canal and the Oklahoma River. So you could, maybe if you're on a boat on the river, you can hop off, walk across the landing, get on a boat on the canal, and then take it into Bricktown. It was supposed to be dedicated this morning.
However,
and early this morning, a note came out from Oklahoma City saying this dedication has been canceled. And what happened, Union Pacific Railroad has a bridge there, and they have to give authority to the city to let people walk under the bridge, which is essentially
protocol and safety.
Yeah, and there was no way around it. You got to go under the bridge to use this landing. Well, the guy, it sounds like a bad story, but the guy who was orchestrating this with the city retired, and the city says he did not pass the information along to his successors there. And so essentially the railroad dropped the ball, and the city did not have permission to use the landing. So they had to scrap the dedication today, and now they're getting back on the phone with Union Pacific, and they hope to have it sorted out.
Didn't have the note from the doctor, so it wasn't happening.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, these stories and more interesting stories can be found in the upcoming editions of the Oklahoma. Nick, thanks for your time today. Good stuff.
No problem.
All right, and they can also be found on our website at newsok.com. Have a great Tuesday evening, everyone.